slap in the face of, epiphany. That's
Sure.
okay.
Honey.
Still good.
Linda, do you want to introduce yourself?
Okay. Let me make sure I'm on.
You're on.
Oh, okay. And my name is Linda. I'm here in Lancaster, California. I'm originally from New York. And that Quality of Mercy video, God, hit me home with it. I mean, it's like when you think about it, I mean, the Quality of Mercy, I mean, you have to take your own moral inventory. You have to look at yourself first. In a nutshell, that's what I took it as. So you have to put yourself in the other person's shoes.
Yeah, are you more of a
That video
Shylock
hit
or
me
a
home.
person?
I mean, I'm from
cool.
New York, House of Tough Love, so you're usually getting hit to the truth all the time, you know?
Yeah, I bet.
I hear it's
So,
very, very nice in Canada. People are so friendly in Canada. Oh, my God. Because I remember going there. People are very, very nice.
yeah, but Christian's trying to change that, so.
Okay, I'm sorry. My fault.
Yeah, we'll let you live another day.
Ooh! And Texas, the Southern hospitality, I love it. Wonderful Southern hospitality.
So the both of you, I think, saw the whole video. So Linda or Christian, why don't one of you share some of your highlights first?
Well, one of the highlights that I wanted to add is like I remember like a few calls ago someone suggested like Ken's video, "Be kind to everyone," for we're all fighting a hard battle, or "Be kind to everyone." And I was saying, like, you know how like Ken's always like stressing to be kind, and like in this YouTube video he like crunches in like 5 minutes like all of his like knowledge about like how it's so important to be kind, you know. And then that's kind of like why I really liked this video too, because actually shortly after that call, I think it was like the next day, is when I first heard this video, The Quality of Mercy. And near the beginning, he does say that, like, he's like, over the years at the foundation, I have talked about how it's important to be kind and stuff. And so that's definitely one of my highlights. It's kind of funny how I disassociated a lot watching the video this time. Like, I was listening and it's hitting home, and it's really lovely. I wanted to listen to it an hour ago, but the video got taken down. Just so that I can kind of like tag more ideas and notes for you guys. But yeah, in the video, Ken goes in depth about one of Shakespeare's stories. Is Shakespeare's, what is Shakespeare's story? Is it called The Quality of Mercy, that story with Portia and Shylock?
The Merchant of Venice.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I kept trying to get that part. It kept slipping by me. So yeah, I'd like to listen to some of that, man. Shakespeare is just, it seemed pretty fascinating. Like, wow. And I think I could probably understand it better today than I could like 6 years ago. So.
I would really rather have Ken with me all the time explaining as it went along, though.
He is there, though. That's the thing. Yeah. Someone I know, after Ken passed away, she kind of like talked to him in his mind, and he told her, "I'm with my music now." So he's with his Shakespeare too. Or that'd be Helen, probably. So yeah, I guess that's it for now. Linda.
All right, cool. Yeah, Linda, do you want to share some stuff?
Here we go. Yeah, when I saw the video, it was like, I mean, the Quality of Mercy is like, in a nutshell, you have to put yourself in the other person's shoes. You have to see yourself like the other person sees it. Well, like back in high school, I knew this one other girl. I mean, she was more worse off than me, but I had to put myself in her shoes because, I mean, I was like her, you know, so I had to understand where she's coming from with her pain, you know. When I watched this video, listening to Ken, I was like, hello. So I just kind of like did my own 10 step in it, and it really opened me up. So, I mean, I kind of like protected myself so much, I just would not put myself in other people's shoes. But now, I mean, because of that video, I know that I did here and there put myself in other people's shoes, but this video really like gives you that punch like, hello, wake up, where's the coffee? Smell the coffee grind.
Yeah.
Life on life terms, that's where I'm from. Wake up, smell the coffee grinds. Life on life terms. I mean, that's how you're gonna get it. So it's, and there's a few apps out there on your devices, 10-step moral inventory or 4-step inventory, or judge your neighbor. It's in your devices, and you just kind of like put yourself in there with the other people, or that Spirit, SPIRI, that Facebook page. I mean, if you like to, you're better off using the few apps that I told you to use, and that can help you to face the situation a lot better if you like to. And that's what I regularly do, because I've been going to AA and NA for almost 25 years. This November 18th, I have 25 years clean from cocaine. So I have to say, thank God for these rooms of God and of course in miracles that woke me up. I'm finally smelling the coffee grind.
So what is one of those apps called that you can use?
Judge Your Neighbor.
Yeah.
It's by Byron Katie.
I know about that. I know about that, but with that one, which is really helpful. But what about the first ones?
Oh,
like
the other two.
Steps or
10-step inventory or 10-step moral inventory.
Okay.
Or 4-step inventory.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, I want to check that out. I'm always downloading apps and stuff for poker.
You need to kind of like talk to the God of your choice with that, and they got to be helping you. If you want to share that with a close friend of yours, you can. You know, it's up to you. But a lot of people like talk to God during those inventories. It helps you be a better person to go out there and face the BS once again. And that's why we have to take a moral inventory to have better attitudes for later on or the next day.
Yeah, and you know, I gotta say, like, it's been rewarding to sometimes have someone come up to me. Like, I get it maybe once a week or once a month. It happened like twice this month where someone came up to me and just said, like, you're so like kind, you know, and like I noticed something different about you, you know, like, and it felt so good for a moment to realize that, like, well, yeah, I'm always kind, but nobody ever says anything about it normally, you know? And to hear someone express that gratitude, to know that I'm making some kind of difference in some people's lives somewhere, it was really nice. It all, you know, it really touched me for a second. I'm like, thank you. I even gave one of the persons a hug, you know? And so it's, yeah, I was like, thank you. Thank you. That's like a gift to me. Your thanks is like a gift to me, you know? Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Thanks, guys. Let me tell you a couple of my highlights. So I wrote down a couple lines. The beginning had the most impactful stuff for me when he's just like, hey, here's what I'm going to talk about. And I'm like, what? So if you think there's something wrong with taking medication, and you also think there's something wrong with breathing.
Yeah.
We believe in power because the way the ego won its power is by dethroning God. But mercy is above this. It's a reflection of God's love.
Wait, before you go on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the first one you said about, like, yeah, like he said, like, if you think that there's a difference between taking medication and breathing, then you're wrong, right? And it's funny because I'm always thinking about, like, differences in form. You know, I'd rather not drink alcohol. I'd rather not do this. Or I'd rather do this instead. You know, it's like, well, really, I'm choosing between nothing, because that reflects, like, the first principle of miracles. There are no order of difficulty among them, which really goes to generalize and simplify this whole entire thing. An illusion is an illusion is an illusion, whether it's good or bad. It's still an illusion. You know, it doesn't matter what happens in the illusion. That's why I need to do nothing except look with Jesus. I can.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense once we heard Ken tell those stories about how terrible some course students had been to other course students. And that just seemed like the best example. Hey, if you're giving someone a hard time for using magic, just remember you're also using magic all the time. if you're breathing.
Yeah, exactly. Simple as that. And are you going to judge yourself for it and go, woe is me or whatever? Or are you just going to say, well, that's what a body does. Thank God it's not
Yeah.
me.
I liked all the stuff he said about justice. Like, when we think we're getting justice in the world, that's the king's scepter. The real justice is in the king's heart. I think I wrote that down somewhere.
I remember that part. Mm-hmm.
Let's see. In the world's justice, there's only condemnation. So we want to get justice because we feel like we have been wronged, improperly treated. We want to be a victim so that then we can make that person be bad and say, like, Christian, you wronged me so deeply. And then we also want to seek revenge for that. So I remember him talking a little bit about William Blake and like all of the hatred that is in us, that is just like secretly in us and just like waiting to come out.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting that you mentioned that too, because even in the past year, I've mentioned a couple times, like I noticed how, and I, God bless the families that lose someone, you know, to say a drunk driver or something. But it's kind of odd to me how these families will spend 30 years suffering, awaiting the person's sentence, and just for the other person to be punished, when it's like, who cares about what happens to that other person as long as they're not doing it to you or other people still, you know? It's like, yes, they harmed your family. Yes, they should be incarcerated or whatever if they're a danger to society, right? That's just practical in society. However, how is it affecting you now? You know what I mean? With that, why does it matter what happens to that person? You know what I mean? Do you kind of get what I'm saying? Like, people are so invested in that person's punishment after what they did to you, you know? When it's like, to me, that's kind of odd, even though it's very normal in the world.
Yeah, and I think that is what The Merchant of Venice was all about, right? Is that Shylock felt so disrespected, and we don't even know why. I don't think he told us why, but so disrespected and so attacked that he felt like he had to get revenge.
I'm a little confused about the story. Okay, so Shylock is the king that wanted a pound of the other person's flesh?
No, Shylock's just the Jew.
Okay. Can you give us a little rundown about the story? I do remember parts, but I couldn't put it all together. Like,
I can't give you a rundown of the story because, as in every Shakespeare play, there's a list of characters and several things happen between all those characters. But I can just tell you that as he talked about it, the main conflict was between Antonio and Shylock.
Okay.
Antonio are between the merchant and Shylock, whoever the merchant was. The merchant gives his money away without charging interest for it, or loans people money without charging interest for it. Shylock doesn't. Shylock makes a lot of money off of loaning money to people. So I think that's the reason he's pissed off about it. Mm-hmm. And so he wants revenge. And there's a series of events where he goes about getting revenge, and in the end, he doesn't.
And Portia gives like this speech that just explains it all, right? Okay.
Right. So Portia disguises herself as a judge to basically make the series of events go this way, so that I wasn't real clear, but it seemed like she knew what was going to happen all along. She knew Shylock was going to demand justice, to demand to get revenge. And so she kind of already knew she was going to say, well, in that case here, go ahead, do it yourself. Oh, but now you're a murderer. It's the end.
Yeah, almost like Jesus, that joke with Jesus and they're stoning that prostitute, and and then he says, well, who among you without sin, you cast the first stone.
Right.
And then Jesus' mom comes up and drops a big rock on the prostitute's head. So he's like, Mom, will you leave me alone? No, I can't.
Shylock kind of wants to use the law to hide behind his need for revenge. So then when she sort of draws him out, saying like, we know you're all trying to get revenge, so now let's make it really clear, like, take your knife and get your revenge. And so then when he finally comes out of the closet, like, yes, I'm trying to get revenge, then I think that's when they sort of out him and he gets in trouble finally.
Cool.
So if I feel unjustly treated, then I feel justified in treating others unjustly. And that is the cycle. We're always trying to bring the evildoer to justice so that we can avoid the justice of heaven. So it's another thing, I guess, where we're looking outside of ourselves. So instead of looking internally and saying, why am I afraid of the love of God? We want to look outside ourselves and say that person is what's keeping me from being happy or having peace.
So we get to like blame someone else, which in turn lets us keep our ego cake, eat it too, and just delay the process of realizing that it's really turmoil.
Right. So if we want to see ourselves as sinless, then we have to see everyone else as sinless. That's the only way to undo it. Cool. Those are our notes. Let's do forgiveness in the field. Linda, do you want to tell us your forgiveness in the field for the last week?
Okay, I'll just have to remember to put myself in other people's shoes and understand where they're coming from. That's what I have to do. That's what this video did. And I heard when I was listening to the video, Laurence Olivier, he played Shiloh in the movie in the past or something. That's what I heard. So I don't know. I'm going to try and Google it, see what I get. So I have to forgive others and put myself in their shoes. That way I can understand them better. Kind of like look at it with a different point of view, and that'll help me. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, my forgiveness in the field. Yeah, I had a few. I'm almost always practicing forgiveness. Always, always, always. Like, even when I get a negative thought about someone or something, you know, or I feel irritated, I'm almost immediately just spouting off some kind of lesson, you know, and just kind of like remembering the truth. And sometimes it's more effective than others. Sometimes maybe it is just spouting or whatever, and maybe I don't really want to forgive, but I still like go through it anyways and stuff. And but like at work, I have it's very difficult with this new job because we have to follow like every company standard to the letter. And that requires a tremendous amount of discipline and consistency. And it's very hard to do that. And, you know, and feeling unfairly treated. And sometimes it's like, yeah, I am right. But, and, you know, and I can hear myself, you know, well, you know, blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm right about this. I'm right about that. And, you know, but then it's like I stop myself and I'm like, no. Or like if I think something negative, it's like, no, that's Christ. Yeah, that's Christ. That, you know, it's like, and so yeah, I just keep practicing, and I'm actually having a good time. I actually really love the position. I'm serving, bartending and stuff in a nice hotel, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and I love my coworkers and my boss. And you know, even if sometimes I think something is a little over the top or whatever, I still love them. And it's why it's better to have compassion, you know, rather than to see someone in a darker light. You know, it feels stronger to attack or react in an attacking way, but it's actually stronger to have mercy, the quality of mercy. You know. That's stronger. Like, why beat someone down who's already hurting? You know, when they attack you, they're really asking for help. And then you're going to go and beat them down instead because you feel like it's a personal attack. No, rather instead give them love, because that is the real strength. Yeah, and just hanging out with my lady friend and learning relationships and forgiveness through that too, and that it's collaborative and we work together, and sometimes we get in arguments and we want to keep poking each other, but there's also a part of us that's stepping back a bit and then calling each other sooner than later, and resolving it and stuff. So that's pretty fun too.
Good job, Christian.
Thanks, dude.
And I'll just say one thing that what you made me think of is that over the last probably 6 months, the stuff we've been reading and watching, one of the things that keeps coming up for me is, oh, it's so much easier to do non-judgment than it is to do judgment. It's actually so much harder to pursue judgment and to pursue conflict and to pursue vengeance than it is to let it go and just, and in my imagination, I'm always just like putting down like a big bag of rocks, but it's full of judgment rocks, you know, the heavy kind. So my forgiveness in the field this week is that I hurt my back yesterday, and it was just perfect timing because that's why I'm standing in the living room, by the way. I have a student coming from out of the country. And one of the things he's doing while he's here is coming to study with me. And it started yesterday, and it's for 3 days. And like about half an hour before I needed to leave, I just bent over and I was like, oh shit. And then it was just really painful all day long. And luckily, I guess I've just been training enough that my body was one of the hardest things for me. I don't know. It's hard. It's really hard for me to, I still am trying to wrap my head around this idea of not denying the experience and yet knowing what it's for. So I think currently I still rush to the idea of this body isn't real. Like this pain isn't real. Like go away, go away. I know that it's real. I don't need to deny. I mean, it's not real, but I don't need to deny the experience or fight it. And so I think that's what I end up doing most recently is I'm kind of fighting it and using forgiveness as like a weapon sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
But I do that for a little while, and then I kind of step back and I'm like, oh, I can accept that I'm having this perception and this experience of being a body, and like I'm having this pain thing and I need to deal with it, and it's not going to last forever. And I know what it's for. Mm-hmm. It is for me to forgive, and it is a thing that I'm using to try to, again, delay the atonement, basically, and accepting God's love. So there was just a lot of pain yesterday, and it's slowly getting better today, but that was my forgiveness in the field.
I'm impressed, and I wouldn't be surprised that if you weren't actually practicing forgiveness, that pain would still be just like it was yesterday and still be for at least a week, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. Good job.
I mean, yeah, it's funny how those things work out. Maybe if I hadn't been practicing forgiveness, I wouldn't have thought I should call my friend Brandy, who's a physical therapist. And then she basically like gave me things to do over the phone, and that's been helping. And, you know, I asked my wife for help. So maybe I wouldn't have reached out for help. Who knows how it would have played out. But
yeah, I think you're right, because even myself, I've kind of like went without getting extra support when I could have. Like when my knee was injured there, I was off for 7 months, you know, and like I should have went and got extra income support after my original one, but I didn't. Why? Because the ego loves problems, and I needed a part of the victim role in there somewhere, you know? And so when I talk about that story, I always say, well, yeah, I can't blame anybody else for that. Nobody. That was all me.
It's hard to hear these stories where Ken is like, and this is why you created this. And it's like, oh, yeah, shit.
Yeah. Oh, we got a newcomer. Angela.
Whoa.
Angela Irving. Irving. Oh, maybe she's
Irving.
Irving.
Irving. Angela, we were just about to wrap up.
What, really?
Kind of, sort of, almost. But no, please, thank you for coming. Tell us your highlights and stuff and your forgiveness.
Oh my gosh. Well, I haven't watched the video. I just wanted to come on, so
Good.
it's been a while. I'm trying to figure out how to, make this be in a place.
What do you do, Angela? What do you do? Where do you drive to? Where do you go? Why are you always in your car in a random lot? What are you doing?
I'm everywhere all the time. I don't know, like, I teach voice lessons
Oh.
to high school students, mostly. But I was just in the Apple store getting a new battery for this bad boy that I'm staring at right now.
Sure.
That is exactly what I was doing, in fact. And I thought it was going to take less time, so.
Hey, Ange, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you, Linda?
I'm doing good. Where you at now, Angela?
In my car.
Oh, what city or
I'm in
town?
my car in a parking lot for the Barton Creek Mall.
No, I'm in Lancaster, California. How about you?
I'm in Austin, Texas.
Oh, a few of you Texans here.
Yeah,
I visited Texas once. Oh God, 15 years ago. It was very nice.
yeah, it's hot right now, but it's awesome, I think.
Humidity.
Actually, Nathan and Jared and I know each other from college at North Texas. So.
Oh, cool.
We were in a fight club together. So Angela, if you didn't watch the video, do you want to tell us about your forgiveness in the field in the last week?
It's funny. I'm doing a landmark class right now, and it seems kind of like there's a zero-sum game as far as like when I'm thinking about landmark stuff versus forgiveness. And I've been really thinking about landmark stuff more. I mean, they're compatible, but it's for some reason it's hard for me to have one of them fill my mental space more than the other. But I have been forgiving. I don't know. I don't really have any good stories. I just like anything that negative comes up, like I feel judgment, I just automatically go, oh, forgive that. I don't really have any like, wow, I forgive these people and then they were awesome. Like,
We could do one right now together if you want.
say what?
We could just do one together right now if you want.
Do one what?
Teach us, Nathan. Teach us how to forgive all the time.
I'm actually amazed that
You can just forgive all of us.
Your active face is on here, Nathan.
Yeah, Christian made me do it. I've been guilted into public service.
No,
Just kidding.
that's not what happened. I told him that it's better. I told him it's better if he hosts because he's an original member and he has a more calmness to it. When I host, it's like, hey guys, what's up? Hello. Welcome to your.
No, I think when you host, you just kind of like pretend like you're Jared.
Yeah, I do. I just copy Jared. That's true.
All right. Well, I don't have anything else, so I don't have any other way to keep the meeting on track. So, anything else you guys want to talk about?
Well, Angela, the video was basically it was called "The Quality of Mercy," and it's all about being kind and stuff. Like, is there something you want to throw out there to the folks about being kind and stuff like that, or maybe something in regards to that or something?
You're putting yourself in other people's shoes. That's what you're doing. And plus, you have to take your moral inventory, which we have to do every day, in a nutshell.
I don't think I have anything to add. I don't know. It's just like, it's tricky. Like, I wanted to jump in and see what y'all are talking about, but especially since y'all are closing up shop, I'm kind of like, oh, hi. I don't know. I don't know.
Are you doing like an advanced landmark class?
Yeah, I'm in the self-expression through leadership, the SELP.
That's really cool. Those are pretty high intensity, hey?
They are intense. I'm learning a lot though. That's one of the reasons that I've also been more in that mindset, because this last week I just, oh my God, uncovered a lot of things, and it feels like it took place for more than 1 week. So.
Wow, I think that's really cool. And actually, you know what? Sometimes I find, like, because my two main hobbies is like poker and the course, right? And like, but it's like, I find it's good when I actually just like focus on poker primarily because I'm doing something normal, you know, and but at the same time, forgiveness is internal, right? It's not really external, you know. It's not like I have to open the book, even though I do almost every day, and do read. Like I'm going through the journey through the text and stuff right now. It's like I find like because I used to feel guilty, or I have felt guilty, or I sometimes still feel guilty if I'm studying poker when it's like, oh, but the course is right there. Why am I studying poker? It's like, no, like it's good to study poker. It's good. Like I need to do that if I want to excel and stuff, right? And so doing what feels right and not feeling guilty for reading a poker book instead of like one of my course books, you know. I feel like sometimes it's actually better when I do that because I'm being normal and I'm just, you know what I mean, I guess.
Yeah. I've definitely listened to many hours of ACIM audio and then felt a little like that was too much.
Yeah, like I love listening to it, but after when I feel like a little bit of overload or whatever, then I'll just cut it, right? It's not going anywhere. And and I have read and heard it all many times. Like when I'm reading the course and stuff, I do remember most of all what I'm reading and stuff, and I'm like, so I do have it, and I just need to learn to apply. And Nathan, it's really cool how you were saying like forgiveness is easier than judgment, because I think that's indicative of your like progress that you really are doing it and stuff. So when you make a realization like that, because I tasted that forgiveness was easier than judgment before, but right now I'm like, hey, I don't feel that, you know. So maybe I'm not practicing quite good enough. I don't know.
It's lighter. I mean, it's freer. It like everything moves, and then judgment is like.
Yeah, and it was like yesterday we had this really big rush at work, and then after it was calm, and I'm like, oh, the calm after the storm. I'm like, and I said to a guest, wait, but there's always a calm in the storm or something like that, you know? And it's like, and I think he got it.
Melody.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Oh, well, I can tie in. So I had a call for my landmark class with my coach and her coach, or like the head coach or whatever. And at the end, he said, I want to leave you with this quote. And he said it was Maya Angelou. And when he started talking about it, I was like, I know, because I really was talking about it here in Houston. Like,
cool.
It was the one that everybody loves to quote that Nelson Mandela put in a speech. And so people attribute it to him, but it's actually Marianne Williamson. What we fear the most is not that we are not worthy or not worth enough, but what we fear the most is that we are powerful beyond belief, or something like that. I'm probably misquoting, but it's like that sort of thing. It's like we're not actually afraid that we're not worthy, but we're afraid that we are way more powerful than we say. I was like, yep, that's Marianne Williamson. I was a her.
Yeah. You're not afraid of like death. Your real terror is of redemption.
Yeah.
And why is that? It's because we think that we would lose ourselves.
It's big and scary. I don't know. It's like it's just an opening that's bigger than we can imagine.
Yeah, like I think I was mentioning in last call, Rosa Maria Wynn, the Spanish translator of Foundation for Inner Peace course, she was saying like that for a couple of years she kept asking Jesus like, I want to know what it's like to be lucid here. Like she was kind of like practicing lucid dreaming at night, and she got really good at it, and she started like being like, this is kind of before the course, and she was like, I want to know what it's like to be lucid here, you know, like. And after like 3 years of asking, she was saying something like, be careful what you ask for, because she tasted lucidity here for a second, and she said it was the most terrifying thing she ever felt, you know. And like,
Holy crap!
yeah. So fear not, you will be lifted up and abruptly hurled into reality. You know, or you probably crap a brick. That would hurt.
That. So this is Rosalia, you say?
Rosa Maria Wynn, the Spanish translator of the course. Anyone out there? I'm just going to say it again, and I'm not quite done yet. There's a few more interviews, but on the Foundation for Inner Peace YouTube channel or on the acim.org or whatever, you can find these videos of these interviews with the translators, and listening to these people speak. People who were immersed in A Course in Miracles, literally immersed like full time for up to 21 years. One of the translations, you know. The level that the, you know, the course works, and when you expose yourself to it, you really start to grasp this, you know, like I don't know, I can hear a level of depth in the way they speak. It's like, oh, I want that, you know, I want that experiential sort of abstract, you know, where they're speaking. Oh, it's so interesting. I highly recommend those.
Cool. No, but they have, I mean, like, you understand something in different languages. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. What do you guys think? Should we conclude?
Yep.
Hi,
Doc.
Anything else to add that I know of? I mean,
I have something to add. Cool glasses, Angela.
I was going to say.
Yeah. All right, you guys. I guess we're doing this again next week, and I guess someone should pick a video. Is that what's up?
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I'm potentially on there.
I don't mind if you're not, if I'm allowed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So how long the video should be? Like a half hour or about an hour, or I just want to make sure.
Let's just see. Go ahead, Nate.
There should be a total of 30 minutes. Let's see if Angela's available. She hasn't done one in a while, and if she's not, then that would be great, Linda.
All right. Make sure.
I'm going to be on a road trip with a friend of mine. I'm going to be in New Orleans, so I don't even know. I mean,
Wait. Where, Angela?
New Orleans.
I don't know. This is. Oh, okay.
What?
They're tracking your location. The owl.
I've never been to New Orleans. Is it nice down there?
I haven't been in a really long time. Last time I was there, I was 19, and it was a really strange weekend.
That must have been like 5 years ago. You look like you're 24, 23.
Yeah, she's 23. So, Linda, yeah, if you want to pick the videos.
All right.
I'm like acting all paranoid today.
Say what?
What are you doing? Nathan, is that a hotel room?
It looks like it's Nathan's living room, I think, or computer room. I don't know.
Sure it is.
Linda, so yeah, Linda, if you want to, Linda, are you able to post, whenever you pick the videos, are you able to post them in the Facebook group?
Yep, I will. I'll look
Sweet.
for that as soon as I'm done with this.
Cool. And Angela, will you be able to pull into a parking lot while you're on that road trip so you can call us? Is that a week from now?
God.
Yeah, make sure there's no one else in the car though, because otherwise we'll be suspicious.
Yeah.
Be nice, guys. Be nice. Let her live another
everyone
day,
come
huh?
in here.
Would be interested. I don't know. I don't know how Donnie would be with ASA.
Oh, right.
You're gonna scare the heck out of him, yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't. He's kind of like my brother, but I don't know. He'd be like,
I definitely try to keep the material away from like people that aren't, you know, used to that and stuff. You know what I mean? Personally, like I feel it's almost like rude to do that myself.
So we'll see you guys next week. I guess keep thinking positive thoughts about Jared and his family while they're dealing with stuff. And hopefully Jared will be back next week so that you guys don't have to look at my face.
Hey, do you think that'd be nice, Nate. No, I'm just kidding. Do you think, is it okay if I read a poem for Viola, guys? Like I read it at, so I know I'm extending a little bit, but we still have time, right?
Sure. So
this poem, it was in one of the, I didn't get to show up for the call. I think it was last week or the week before or something, but it was at the end of Ken's YouTube video called Helen Schuckman, Her Study and Practice of A Course in Miracles. And it was a poem that Ken urged Helen to write because one of their friends' mother was passing away. And he said, well, why don't you write a poem for her? And the poem kind of like switches with Jesus and God, and it's basically speaking to someone who passed away. So it's a poem to the person who passed away from Jesus and God, basically. And I read it at a funeral once, and it was a beautiful response. Everybody wanted me to send them the poem, and it was a really good time. And actually, Jared's reading it today for Viola. So I'll read it here for us to Viola. It's called Requiem. You came but for a while. When Jesus called, you were content to go. For who would stay to watch the dreary cycle of the nights turn coldly gray with each return of day? This world was not your home. Would God allow his child to wander long without a home, which he himself makes bright? Your tired eyes closed gratefully when he at last said, come. You have forgot all this, all thoughts that hurt, all sorrow, all regret have ceased to be in your remembrance. He who called to you has loosened all your chains and set you free. Because I love you, I would have you go. Because I love him, I can scarcely weep. Because he loves you, glory goes with you, and in that glory, you but seem to sleep. He came in mercy. Let me give him thanks. You stayed with us until you saw him smile and tell you it is finished. He will come for me that way in just a little while. It is for this I wait, in certainty that he who made the stars will not forget. I will be glad to see him smile at me, or if he choose, to wait a little yet.
Chris, can you do me a favor? Can you email me or send me that poem?
Absolutely.
I like to have it. Thank you. We'll post it.
You betcha. Yeah, I'll do
I
that.
think posting it in the group would be great.
Totally.
Thanks, Christian.
Yeah.
You too, guys. Thank you, Viola.
So let's get out of here. We'll unmute the lines and say good night and God bless.
Thank you,
So-
Viola. Thank you, Jared. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
God
you, guys.
bless.
God bless.
Bye, everybody.
Keep the